All right, welcome to our next session. We have Turning Intelligence into Action, Scaling the Pyramid of Pain with MATI, Mandiant Advantage Threat Intelligence, and SnapAttack, presenting by Tim Neri from SnapAttack.
All right. Cool. Thank you all for attending. So, like she said, my name is Tim Neri. I lead product here at SnapAttack. Prior to that, I spent about 15 years consulting at Booz Allen Hamilton. So I've been around Fortune 500s, large government agencies, working on red teaming, pen testing, working at security operations centers. So I've seen it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we're going to talk today a little bit about how you can take your threat intelligence and really turbocharge it and make it actionable. So again, today's agenda, we're going to talk about that problem with threat intelligence of, how do I make it actionable? How do I make it relevant to my organization? And really talk about that SnapAttack approach and how we blend Mandiant Advantage Threat Intelligence with our product, SnapAttack, to prioritize threat intelligence, to really understand and deep dive what information we know about our threats, our threat actors, our software vulnerabilities, our CVEs, as to what we call our threat dossiers, and then help organizations scale that pyramid of pain. So moving beyond your traditional IOCs or domains, IPs, and hashes, how can we look at behavioral techniques that these organizations and these threat actors apply, and how can we use those to, again, have better quality detections? And we'll summarize a couple of the key takeaways here. So we're at mWISE here, so it would be very appropriate to talk about a Mandiant report. So around this time last year, Mandiant surveyed 1,300 security decision makers for their global perspectives on threat intelligence report. And there are a lot of common themes to this. Organizations love the quality of their threat intelligence. They love the timeliness. But thinking about how they can use that internally, there are definitely some challenges. Almost 2/3 of the respondents said they need to improve their understanding overall of the threat landscape. Pretty much everyone who responded said their organizations need to be faster at taking that threat intelligence and applying it to their organization. And again, almost 80% said that their organization could spend more time on the critical trends. So what's newsworthy, what's emerging, what's coming in, and what are the latest threats that actors are using. There's one question in particular that stood out to me, and that was when they asked what the greatest challenges were when using threat intelligence. Almost half of the respondents said it was just applying threat intelligence to the organization, and 40% said just even knowing what to do with it in the first place. So that screams to me like there is a serious problem with how do we take this threat intelligence and actually make it useful to our organization. I was talking with a customer the other day, and they shared a very similar sentiment. It was, we've got 5 threat feeds. We're drowning in threat intelligence, Tim. How do we actually use this and protect our organization? And again, that's really what we wanted to set out to solve. So we do this first through threat prioritization. So what does that mean? Well, we're taking data that we have from Mandiant, and we're combining that to make our own recommendations and create a security profile for organizations. So again, with the rich threat intelligence from Mandiant, we understand a lot of information about threat actors. So what are their motivations? Are they hacktivists? Are they corporate espionage? Are they ransomware financially motivated? What regions do they target? So are they targeting people in the United States or Asia Pacific? What industries do they target? Are they targeting financial organizations, healthcare, government? What are their recent TTPs and what are their MITRE attack techniques? We look at the malware and tools that these organizations are using. So how prevalent these tools are, what are the capabilities, what specific behaviors and artifacts do they leave behind? Again, we want to increase the cost of that attack and lead them up the pyramid of pain. We also look at vulnerabilities, but we want to have a different approach. I mean, you see how many CVEs there are. How many of these are actually exploitable? How many of them have a high enough risk score that, again, it makes me want to create detections for these and plug those? Think about something like, the recent vulnerabilities around MOVEit, where, yes, the right answer is still to patch, but what happens if I miss a couple of patches? Does this hit that high enough severity threshold that I want to have a couple of detections in my back pocket to see if that exploitation is occurring? And especially, when are those CVEs the ones that I should be prioritizing to have detections for? Which again, with SnapAttack and with this, we can understand, is there exploitation activity? Is this a 0-day? Is this going wide? What kind of usage do I have in my organization? We had a customer with a recent CVE on WinRAR the other day who was asking, what kind of detection should I be deploying? And the question they first needed to ask was, how prevalent is this in my network? There are 7 users in their large organization that were using it. So it was not a big deal to them, but because they saw it in the media, they thought it was a big deal. So you've got these competing priorities that a lot of organizations are dealing with. And the last piece, again, firmographics. So your organization size, what operating systems, applications you use, cloud technologies. Again, we want to deliver the most relevant detections to you. And it becomes, at the end of the day, a shopping cart problem. You can only deploy so many detections before your analysts run out of capacity, before you have alert fatigue and other things. So how can we really narrow that down to the most important ones? So talked a little bit about that. Again, quick demo of what that threat priority looks like and how we do that prioritization. So our security profile, it's a survey that you would complete at onboarding. We're going to ask you all of those questions. Again, firmographics, questions about threat actors, your priorities. Every time you answer one of those questions, that's going to boil down a little bit and help us prioritize and refine that information. You can always come back in here and you can edit that later. And this is going to be a constantly evolving profile. So when you answer that question about which industry you are, anytime there's a new threat actor or a new piece of malware that's affecting that industry, that's going to also pop up in here. So this is dynamic in real time. And then at the end of the day, this is going to spit out, what are those profiles? What are those things that we should prioritize around your malware tools, your actors, your TTPs, your vulnerabilities, which again, you can later continue to dig in and refine. So let's talk a little bit about threat dossiers. So I love that term. If you can imagine, like I'm working for government agency and that dossier comes on my desk, where I get to open up that manila folder and see what is it about this threat that we know about. So there's a rich data set that Mandiant Advantage provides that we also, again, provide to our customers. And then we take that to another level. So you're able to actually view the coverage that you have for a specific technique and what those next actions are to take. So say your CISO, say your boss is seeing MGM hack in the news, and they're like, what do we know about scattered spider? Could this be us in another week? The answer is you could go to that threat actor page. You could look at the tools that they're using, and you could see very quickly, yeah, we've got coverage for that. We've got detections. We're a little bit behind on here, but I know what next steps I need to take to deploy behavioral detections, to do threat hunts across my SIMs, my EDRs, how to validate those detections with MSV or another attack simulation tool, and ultimately at the end of the day, help increase your security posture around that. So a couple of quick examples, what those look like. If you're looking at MITRE attack techniques, again, we cover most of the attack matrix. This one here is an example. So remote access software, think about TeamViewer or other things that attackers might install in your network. If your organization uses these legitimately, you might have some tuning to do on these detections. If not, they would work out of the box where, again, anytime TeamViewer is installed, maybe that's something that we need to respond to because that shouldn't be in our network. And again, we can quickly see here what are those next actions and steps we can take. Our Snap score showing us how we're covered, what detections, what hunts, what validation modules we should be running. Similarly, we have this for tools, and tools can be software, they can be malware. Think of things like PSExec, Mimikatz, we've got Bloodhound, Cobalt Strike, can be ransomware groups. Again, we can understand what that behaviors those tools do, what information we need to do to again detect, to hunt, to validate those. Vulnerabilities as well. This one is MOVEit. We can see we're actually not well covered here, but we can increase that score by deploying some detections and doing some threat hunting here. So again, it gives us at a glance a really quick opportunity to see that. And again, with vulnerabilities, the goal is not to have stuff for every vulnerability, but which ones are going to be most impactful, which ones have 0 days, which ones have active exploitation, what's going to be relevant to our organization. Last piece here, and this one's a little bit more interactive. Again, a threat actor, just showing some of the depth and breadth of that information. So, we're pulling in all of that information from Mandiant Advantage, where we do have, the MITRE attack mappings in the matrix, target regions, target industries. We're pulling in, again, you can quickly kind of see the tabs. We've got threat intelligence, so all of the other articles there. We've got our threat library, so we emulate the threats, and you can see almost as if you were shoulder surfing the attacker, what information is going on that threat. So you can see the video, you can see the event logs, all of that telemetry data. And again, we've got the detection library, which we mash up against that, which again, ultimately helps us to recommend high quality behavioral detections, which again is going to lead to the next part of how do we scale this pyramid of pain. So when you think about threat intelligence products, typically you're looking at domain names, IPs, hashes. We want to help take organizations to scale that pyramid of pain and go up to the higher parts. So looking at the network artifacts, looking at the tools and the TTPs there. Ultimately, again, this is something that SnapAttack and Mandiant together can provide, and it's definitely unique here. And again, we'll just talk about one of these ways that we can do this here. Sorry, which slide? Yeah, so how do we kind of scale that pyramid of pain? What's that differentiator? So again, with Mandiant Advantage SnapAttack, we have the IOCs from Mandiant. We've got the behavioral detections from SnapAttack, which provides you full threat coverage. SnapAttack, again, we're also unique in that we have a low-code detection builder, so we can use that to quickly develop new behavioral detections with a couple clicks of a button, test them against threats in our threat library, and then deploy those to your SIEM, your EDR. Those can be as easy to deploy as one click once you have configured integrations, and you can also use that to hunt across your network. We can also validate security controls with SnapAttack. We've got our own attack scripts, and we've got support for Mandiant security validation as well, which we'll take a look at here. So this is a quick little video demo that shows both the attack side and shows the detection side. So this is our threat library. Like I said, you were kind of shoulder surfing the attack. And this one here in particular is one of the Mandiant security validation host CLI commands. It's impairing defenses with BCD edit. So if we wanted to set what's kind of going on here, think about a ransomware attack. They want to make sure that you pay the ransom. They're going to do whatever they can to prevent you from having backups. BCD edit is obviously the boot configuration. So if we can disrupt and prevent your laptop, your desktops from booting up, then there's a higher chance that you're going to have to pay the ransom. So this here is using that technique. We're able to see what's going on on the attacker machine. Our red stars designate the attack. Our blue circles designate the detection. That detection in our detection library here is this detection. We can see the code behind that. We can see where it's hit. We can see that this has been validated. We can see it's compatible with lots of our different SIEMs, EDRs, or integrations. With one click here, I can deploy this to Google Chronicle, and now I have some defenses for this threat. So that's just how easy it is to scale that pyramid of pain and move higher up on that pyramid beyond just IOCs, which a lot of times is all you get with threat intelligence of, okay, great, this is a piece of malware that's using this tool, but what is actually going on underneath that I can detect against? So I think just to kind of summarize here with SnapAttack and Mandiant Advantage, you can prioritize your threats based on your organization's security profile. Again, we're really allowing you to understand what are your key priorities and make sure that those stay up to date. You can view your current coverage as well as recommended actions for specific actors, malware tools, vulnerabilities through our threat dossiers. Gives you the opportunity to see at a glance how I'm protected, what are those next steps, and again, makes it very actionable. Each one of those pages is a miniature report. And ultimately, you can use these two tools together to scale the pyramid of pain and move beyond the full IOCs. You don't have to see another threat report where you read all of that great information about the actor and they just talk about, okay, well, they're using PowerShell. So is every threat actor is using PowerShell. What sort of things does that look like? What techniques should I be testing my defenses against? What detection should I be deploying? We help you move up that. So if you want to see more about SnapAttack, definitely encourage you to stop by our booth back there, 206. We can give you a full demo. We can talk more about the security profile. And then also want to give a shout out to AJ, who's sitting back here. He's our Director of Threat Research. He's going to be speaking tomorrow about continuous validation and testing your detections so that you can trust them when they don't fire. So if you're into detection engineering, you're into CI/CD pipelines, you want to do a little bit better about your detection pipeline and making sure that these are tested and validated, you can stop by his talk tomorrow at 9 a.m. in Salon 1. Thank you, and we'll see you later.